Hello, Claire. Thank you so much for your time. Today, I invited you because it's a very special thing what you're doing. You are coach for divorce. Relationship, it comes after it, but you are divorce coach, and not many people know about such type of coaching. I think it's great. I think it's great.
Well, thank you for having me. It's lovely to be here, I have to say. And I mean, our topics kind of merge, don't they? Dating, matchmaking, because so many people on a divorce journey, when they come out the other side, it's like, how do I do that? So it's very interesting. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself, who I am, where I'm from. So I live in Northern Ireland. I'm from the south of Ireland in Galway. I am a divorced mom of two boys. They are now 11 and 13. I was a nurse, so I left a 36-year nursing career in June of last year. So my main area of specialty was pediatrics and emergency medicine. So I did that. And I just thought I can't do both because I was doing both and I thought I can't do both. I felt like I was in a bit of a lukewarm bath and nothing was working. So I decided to step out into this full time. And the reason I decided to do this in the first place was because I left a marriage that, from my perspective, was broken about just over 7 years ago. And our boys were 4 and 6. And it was an awful journey because I didn't know how to do it. I didn't have a lot of friends who'd been through it. And I didn't know what help I needed. I didn't know what I needed to prioritize because, obviously, with children, especially, there's lots to prioritize. There's lots of things that need your attention. And I remember going to my GP because I thought that's probably a good idea being a nurse. And my GP offered me a prescription for antidepressants. And I remember thinking, I sat in the car and I remember I don't get angry very often, fairly placid sort of person. And I remember sitting in the car and eventually I literally slammed my fist on the steering wheel and I thought, I am damned if that man is putting me on antidepressants, meaning my ex-husband, because I thought I've been through so much to get to this point. I am not doing that now. And I knew I wasn't depressed, but I was just completely overwhelmed. I didn't know what I needed to do. And I had just started a new job 3 weeks earlier. So my social support circle had changed, and my ex husband is a church minister. So I had left our church. So my whole world literally went upside down in the space of a weekend. And the children moved into a different home. And suddenly we were two parents living in different houses, figuring out how to do this. So hindsight is a great thing. And about 3 years ago, I broke my ankle and I was sitting with a lot of time on an iPad, looking and thinking I loved emergency medicine. I was now working in a GP practice and I liked it, but I didn't love it. And I thought, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? Like, I've loads of life to live. And I found a course to train to be a divorce coach. And I thought, now that is a story I know. And the woman who was advertising her training said, if you either are a coach and you'd like to add this, or if you have been on a divorce journey, and that got my attention. So since then, I have done another training with a diploma and lots of other learning and training. And I thought, I know the difference that I would have made to my life 7 years ago.
What
And
would be, what would be this difference?
I would have been less upset emotionally. I felt like I was emotionally up and down. I would have got an email from my ex-husband's solicitor and I would have tailspinned in stress and worry and concern. And whenever we were interacting as the thing is, the person that you go to for everything is suddenly the person where there's anger and there's fear and there's unknown. And so your whole world changes. What I bring to my clients is, let me help you understand why you're reacting like this. And let me help you to figure out, is this the best way for you to react or respond, or is there a different way? So I help my clients press a pause button and go, right, you're angry. Okay, let's look at that. That's totally appropriate. But let's see if there's a better way to try and move through to find what's your next step. So I help my clients to step back a bit, acknowledge what's going on, and then find a slightly easier way to move forward that doesn't take 3 days of crying and upset and telling half the world. Because I think everybody has that, we want to talk about the things that are upsetting us. But in retelling our story from a divorce journey, that actually makes it worse. It keeps us stuck in the loop of the emotions. It doesn't help us to move forward because everybody has an opinion based on their experience of the world. So my logo is Your Story Matters, because I truly believe that if we dare to believe that our story matters, then what choices would we make and how would we go forward? But I also help my clients to see that every other person in their world, whether it's a work colleague, a family member, a parent, a friend, they have their version of what a divorce journey means and what a normal relationship is or whatever. So when we get advice from people, which is really well-meaning, the intention is always for good. It's coming from places where people may not say, "Are you okay? And what do you need?" They just come in with the advice. So what I bring for my clients is a safe space with no judgment. And I say to all my clients, male and female, empty your head on the table, everything in your head, and I will help you sort it out, untangle it, and we'll go, what needs your attention first? Why is it a good idea to look at this first? Because I can see what people can't, because I've been there and I've trained for it. And having worked in emergency medicine, I spent my whole career doing prioritizing, asking questions, and understanding that if we don't ask the right questions, we don't get enough information to keep people safe. So I understand that. And my whole nursing career has been navigating families through trauma and crisis, which is what this is. So kind of I'm bringing a lot to the table when I come here. And this is what I didn't have. I was a professional person. I had a lot of friends, but I never wanted a marriage that didn't work. And it wasn't working for me. And I had to decide, if it wasn't working for me, was that a reason enough for me to do something different? And those are the things that I help my clients with, because I have a lot of clients that come to me before they end up on a divorce journey.
It's so one thing I want to mention, when I went through my divorce, and I had 4 children, so it's even worse than your situation.
Wow.
I found somewhere very interesting advice. It's similar to what you do with your clients. It was something like, look at your relationship with your ex and think, what are you missing? For example, travel buddy, or going to the restaurants, acknowledgement, being parents, communication, watching films together, really little things you are missing right now. Sex as example. And to survive quicker, just find people or find solution. How can you realize all these little parts of your life? Sex is not a problem at all. Communication, you have friends. Acknowledgement, go and be speaker in some events. Volunteering, no problem. Helping people, no problem. Getting help, also, even now it's like your niche, no problem. So it means now, couple of years ago, it's really easier to find solutions than it's, for example, for people who got divorced 10 years ago.
Yeah, and I think
Changing culture.
Oh, and that's a big one, actually. But you raised a very important thing, and this is where I was back 7 years ago. I didn't know what I needed, and I didn't know how to find what I needed. So hearing what you were saying, I thought that's such a good way, almost like a spider's web map of trying to figure it out, because we don't need to get all of those things from one person.
Yeah.
And also, we are able to meet our own needs. We just don't really realize it. So the starting point before that is, what are your needs in the first place? And I think sometimes, when you're a mom and you've got kids and you're working, your own needs are so far down the table that you just don't know them. So one of the things that I always talk to clients, male or female, mom or dad, in a situation where there are children, I had my first question, what do I think is in the best interest of the children? So when I left my marriage, it was like, what do I think is in the best interest of the children? So I made decisions, and I went to this and I did that and I went to that. After a while, I realized I was still getting very upset, and I felt like my emotional world was up and down, and I was putting myself in positions that weren't necessarily in my best interest. But because I was asking the question, what is in the children's best interest, I thought, I think this will be good for them. So it took me about 9 months to realize I was asking the wrong question. So a better question would be, what's in my best interest? Because I now know that if I am okay as a parent, my children will be okay because I'm okay. So I say that to all of my clients, that the better question is, what do you need for you to be okay? because it's not selfish. It's really, really, really important.
It's important, and something think, okay, so I could keep this relationship, I could stay with father of my children, but I will be unhappy, he will be unhappy, and children will be unhappy as well. So it's maybe really easier, even it sounds like complicated, to get apart and try a different way, but happy mom, happy dad, happy children. Okay,
Yeah.
splitting is not in ideal build of the picture of the family or structure of the family, but so many families live like this and it works.
Well, nobody sets out when they get married to be divorced, not a single person. And so I say to clients, you know, and potential clients, you have invested an awful lot of money in your wedding, the dress, the venue, the honeymoon. Surely it's worth investing a bit of time and money before you decide to leave. So I have clients that work with me for a set program. And what I do is I look at framing them. Who are you? What are your values in the world? Do you understand boundaries? Can I help you to communicate in a way that'll give you the best chance of actually being heard? Because it's one thing saying something. So if I was to say to you something like, or if I was having a conversation with my ex-husband, I might say, I get really annoyed when you do that. And I've told you 5 times, why are you still doing it? That person hears white noise. If I was to say, I find it's very upsetting when you do this, would you mind if I asked you to please remember that and not to do it in future? Would that be okay? There is a better chance that that person will hear that as a request because it's not threatening. You're not pointing a finger. There's no criticism. So I help my clients with language, because feeling something and saying it in a way that the other person can actually interpret it the way you mean it, that those are different things. And so when I look with clients at that stage before, should I go, should I stay? I would say to all my clients, I have no idea where you will be when you work with me for 6 sessions, but I will guarantee you 100% you will not be here. You won't be stuck. The unknown is, will your partner lean in to want to be part of the change, or will they stay where they are? And that in itself tells you an awful lot of information, because one person cannot fix 2 people. 2 people have to want something to be fixed. And if one person feels, well, I'm fine, like my marriage is fine, what's wrong with you? That person doesn't want to take responsibility for what is theirs, because we all bring our own things to a table. And so I now know that there are 2 things. There is a marriage problem where there's 2 people that are having communication issues or disappointed expectations or whatever it is, and 2 people might want to work to change it. Or you have a person problem within a marriage. And that is entirely different, because if the other person doesn't want to change and thinks that, well, I don't know what's wrong with you, I don't find that, and they're not able to hear you and they don't want to hear you, that's not a marriage problem. That's a person problem. And that's entirely different. Yeah. And that is the marriage that is already broken because one person doesn't want to help the other person to be okay.
True. One of the books I'm reading right now says it's very interesting point of view to men, something like, you know, this, because most of the men who are saying, you know, I don't understand what's wrong with you, it's mostly men are avoiding of this conversation of the conflict of conflict solution, but generally this approach is that men are afraid of women. And just because they're afraid and they don't know how to deal with us, so it's easy to say, I'm fine, I'm absolutely great, but you know, you are wrong. What do you want from me? So this avoiding, it's mostly men behavior, because women, we are trying to push, and the more we push, the less result we get, like you said. And it's we criticize the man and not his behavior. We talk to men like we are their mothers, and then we're surprised that men behavior changed to like they're our children, and not like our.
And that's not healthy in an adult relationship. But I will say that there is a backdrop to that, and the backdrop to that is we all have what I call a map of the world. So we all come from backgrounds that are different. So you put 2 adults together that have different backgrounds as children. So in one household, say the man's household, the family, his parents shouted and had an argument and everybody exploded and then it was all forgotten about and everything was fine. So that person is used to that. The woman might come from a family where nobody argued and everybody was all happy, peace and light, and maybe there was a bit of silent treatment or something. So you put these two adults together and the man is used to shouting as normal. He does that and the woman is going, I'm really scared, I don't like this. So that's to do with who we are as humans because of our background. And I help clients to see that the other person has a different map of the world. It doesn't make it right or wrong. It just means it's a different understanding of what's normal. And unless we explain that your normal is actually causing me to feel upset or sad, why would anybody do any different?
Yeah.
And, you know, so when I look at what I bring to clients, I would say to them, if you're on a divorce journey, you still take you into the next relationship. So is it not worth working on you to see, can I become a better version of me? Can I get to know who I am better? Because if that doesn't happen, second relationships, second marriages, they all end up the same way because you're the same. So I made it my business to figure out what did I bring into my marriage that maybe wasn't helpful and what would I choose to do about that. But we can only change what we're aware of. So awareness and observing is the first key to any change. And if you're willing to do that, then everything is possible.
From your experience, who are your clients? More men or more women? Because I would say, you know, just listening to the word divorce coach, I would say, you know, maybe women, because we are more deep into these psychological words, searching solution, trying to rescue the world. Who are your clients? You know, who are you working with?
I have probably 45% men and 55% women, which surprised me, I have to say. It, you know, and now with more experience and working with more people, what I realize is when men come and go, yeah, you have what I need. They're ready to change. They're ready to listen. They're ready. Whereas women are like, I don't know if this feels right. I'm not sure. I'm tired. So in some ways, it's very, very, I find it really interesting because as men and women, we think differently. So men are more thinkers, women are more feelers generally. But a lot of the female clients I have been in relationships that have been hard work. So as you said, you know, you're trying to fix it, you're trying to do that. And what you have then is you have somebody who has a lot more masculine energy, which is striving, fixing, doing, and very little of the being. You know, as humans, we need to be okay with who we are. And when we're okay with who we are, then we can be with somebody else without having to make it different or better. And I look at the world about energy now and I think, well, where's your energy going? And staying in a relationship that's not working is hard. So when people say, but a divorce journey is really hard, I go, yes, it is. But there is possibility and potential for something better. You can stay in a relationship that's not working and it's just hard. It doesn't necessarily get easy. So they're both hard. And sometimes you think, which hard am I going to choose?
Yeah, so and usually, but you know, it's usually this path of less resistance. I'd better stay in the not working marriage because I'm scared, I'm afraid of what changes might come, and maybe my next relationship or life alone will be even worse than life, my destiny with this specific person. It's, you know, it's just fear of the future.
Yeah, and the thing is, everybody is fear of the future. I mean, I stepped out of my marriage, as I said, from my perspective, it wasn't working, it was broken. But both myself and my ex-husband had fear. We both had change. I chose the change. He had the change forced on him because I left. So we both had to figure things out. And I remember reading a book on divorce about 3 weeks after I left. It was a little bit like the door is shut, the horse is bolted. It's a bit late, but anyway. And the second chapter, I'll never forget it. It was about anybody on a divorce journey, regardless of the reason or the cause or whatever, has to find a new identity. And I remember thinking, how on earth do you do that? It was like double dutch to me. But it's true because when you get married, you become two people, become one. So I love the picture of two colored pieces of paper. So if you have a green sheet of paper and a red sheet of paper and they're glued together, when you separate them, there's parts of the green on the red and parts of the red on the green. Because if you've been with someone we take each other's values and traits. And so to be healthy going forward, sometimes we need to hand back things that we have borrowed from our partner that we don't even realize were never ours to begin with. And that's that sense of, that's how you create a new identity. Who am I? What do I like? Because I've been with this person for 20 years, and I watch movies that are action. Do I like action movies, or did I just do it because I was with him? So there's lots of things. An interesting exploring of, well, who am I?
Right.
Who would I like to be? What would I? So you can obviously relate because you're smiling.
No, it's a thing because I sometimes I host similar webinars for me, for women, for men, because I work with people who are going to enter the next relationship. So I warn them about what might happen if they find, or when they find. And I always say, you know what, if you play football now, you don't stop playing football because of her. If you like meeting your girlfriends, you don't stop meeting your girlfriends just because you're a married woman and you have to sit at home, bake the pies for him, and wait for him after he comes back from the pub. So it means he fall in love in the person who you are now. And you're not going to change. You have to stay who you are, because it's
Yes,
something
because
like
that's who he fell in
contract.
love with. Yeah.
It's contract. It's contract.
Mm-hmm.
He signed, and you signed the contract, or you both signed like moral contract to love the person we found. And if from being world traveler and slim and active with a lot of hobbies, he changed to overweight. Uh, I don't know, interested only in the kids and their school
Yeah.
homework. It's not the person who he fall in love with. And after she complained, because mostly women complain, oh, he stopped lying to me, we have no sex, but you changed. So it's very important when you start new relationship, remember, fix the moment, I am this person and I have to stay similar to this person.
And that is the person that your partner fell in love with that version of you.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, and in some ways, I mean, it is so healthy as an adult couple to have your own interests, because then when you come back together, you've more things to talk about and you keep your own identity. You don't merge into this oneness that sometimes gets so blurred, because one of the biggest obstacles, I think is a good word, in relationships is this whole idea of disappointed expectations. And there's the gap. So there's the, what are my expectations? What's my reality? And what do I do with this gap in the middle? And I talk to a lot of clients about the idea of, what can you do to fill up some of the expectation gap, that you're not expecting your partner to give you everything, because no one human being can give us all we need.
It's possible. It's possible, but it's not about healthy relationship.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
about
that's yes, yes.
narcissist and all this stuff, but it's ill.
But that in those relationships, that person is not getting everything that they need. There's still gaps. There's still things. The dynamics around those relationships are so complex, but they are so there's an awful lot of need in those relationships to be. And I sometimes think that as humans, we go, well, this is normal. It's my normal. But if we were to look and go, well, what is the definition of a healthy relationship? And you Google it and you think, oh, I don't have that and I don't have that. We don't give ourselves something to reflect, which gives us a different perspective. So as a coach, I bring a different perspective and I ask questions to help somebody to see things in a different way, because I ask them a different question. So I know that our brains will always look for the answer of what we ask it. So if you're on a divorce journey and you think, why did he have an affair? What was wrong with me? Why didn't he love me? Our brain will go, I'm going to scan the environment and I'm going to find you the answer. And it's, well, you've put on weight, well, you were too busy working. So we will always find the answers to the questions we ask our brain to find. So if I asked a different question to that particular client and I said something like, what what if it wasn't about you? What if it was about him? What might his needs have been, or why might he have done that? Suddenly you're not looking to find fault with you. You're looking to see where the problem started. So your brain scans and goes, well, yeah, there was this and there was that, and I noticed that. So it takes us out of this pit that we get ourselves in.
Yeah.
And I help people to get out of the pit faster because I ask them questions they haven't asked themselves.
Yeah, because in this process of divorce, a stressful situation, it's like you said, it's rotating the same thought. Why? What? What could I change? Where is my fault? Where were my mistakes? Sometimes there are no mistakes. Sometimes in German there is even the word like we're growing apart. Something like we both change on our journey together. We are still together, and maybe we have our goals, but it doesn't work anymore. So it's okay. So I'm curious. When people come to you to prepare their divorce, so because you have such clients, is it most they make it till divorce, or it's most of the time they decide to rescue this relationship once again?
I think there are more people who end up going down a divorce pathway
Okay.
because there are more things that are wrong for them. But what I help my clients to do is know what is wrong, what has been broken. So they're not leaving because they're not happy and it's hard. They're leaving because they understand that actually this is why this isn't working. And what that does then is when we understand something, we have a better way of dealing with it. So then you can communicate in a different way going through a divorce process because you know the reason I'm leaving is because of this, and this is not going to change, and therefore I am choosing to put me first. So there's a very interesting concept, and we hear about this all the time. Just say no. We say yes so often and we mean no, and we get ourselves overwhelmed and spread too thin on the ground. The idea of saying yes and saying no is an interesting one because it's portrayed, I think, about it's hard to say no. So if you were to say to somebody, when I look at my marriage, I think I didn't say no to being married. What I did first was I said yes to me having a better life. And that allowed me to put me first, knowing that there was a reason I was doing it. And the outworking of that yes was no to being married. So it changed my ability to walk through the journey because I didn't feel I had to defend myself or justify it. I knew why I was making it. And so that's what I help my clients to bring. And some of my clients have stayed really well in their marriage because when they have understood patterns of communication that haven't been helpful. I talk to my clients about, a tug of war on the rope, tug of rope. And I would say to my clients, drop the rope to give somebody a picture that they can think of really quickly. So if your partner comes in and says, I've been here all day and I've been doing this and you're late again, and the other partner can go, but I tried so they justify it. If one of those people drops the rope and go, it's good to see you, the energy's gone. And when we can take the energy out of a pattern, then there is chance to change it. And only one person has to do that. Because one of my clients said to me, will this work if my partner doesn't work with you too? And I said, absolutely, because one person can change a pattern. And the unknown is what will the other person do? And if the other person is finding that their home life is less angry and it is calmer and the other person is trying to do things together and they think, oh, I quite like this, they're far more likely to lean in and go, let's try a bit of this. And can I suggest something? And I would say to my clients, ask your partner to organize a date. Don't do it if you've always done it, give them responsibility, ask them to do it and encourage them and help them to do it because you will gain if you empower them to make choices that will help you.
What I always recommend because changing our life, it's really about little changes. We don't have to move. We don't have to change the job. Sometimes our relationship is just because of little things. And I always remind women mostly that we have to give men acknowledgement really for little things. Because many women, especially if you've been long time in relationship, we really forget about to praise our men. And it can be really simple thing, amazing pasta. Oh, it's the best pasta I ate ever. You're packing like a god. My partner, when he packs, he said, yes, I'm a god. I don't have to say it.
I love that.
Because he said, yeah, yes, I'm a god. Because he really packs.
But that's appreciation, isn't it?
Yeah.
As humans, We
yes,
all want to feel appreciated, but if we can encourage an environment of appreciation, the other person is far more likely to match it back again, and
yes,
then we both gain.
because it's not dangerous in relationship for men, you know. So from this point, men are afraid of women and of relationship and fear of the future and all these fears. But if woman creates this safe environment, so something, okay, now you're looking football, you're watching your football, and after it we finish. And not like most women, you always watch your football and never time for children, for me, you never have time for me, oh, you know, my god. And he will stay watching football even longer. But if, you know, so you're football god, I appreciate it so much, but after it, can we do this and this and that, you know, like you said about energy, because pushing our partners, it's more man energy, and you know, really pushing him on our path to our wishes, but giving freedom to choose, you know, giving freedom to choose, it
Yeah.
it makes big change.
And also, in the scenario that you described, what does that woman need? What is her need? Is her need for time with her partner? Is it that she wants to go and do something as a family? Because that is not being communicated in that sentence. It's just you're always doing this, but there's always a need underneath that. And
Yeah.
if we can learn to see what is that need, what am I missing? What would help me to feel more whole or to feel connected? Then we have a better way of saying, are you happy to watch your football? I would love then, if you didn't mind, could we go into the park with the kids? That would be a bit of fun.
Yeah.
So it's what are we missing? We get angry and we get defensive and we criticize, but there's a need underneath that. So it's looking behind it to go, what's the need? And then once we have an idea what that might be, how might I get that met?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But you know, it's really, for me, it sounds like you work with people who get divorced. I work with people who are searching for new love and new relationship, but we give the same advice.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing, because if we can learn, so I firmly believe that, I mean, 50% of life is pretty awful, basically. But if we can understand that and learn from the things that are difficult, that will improve our future. I mean, I have learned from my journey of divorce and I have completely changed my future, and now I have a new career because I have taken the learnings. What did I learn? What did I wish I had known? We can do that in all sorts of situations. And then the hard stuff isn't necessarily wasted. It's just part of who we are, but we can take the good and we can let the other part of it go, because we don't need to hold on to the memory, because we've pulled something forward into our future.
You know, it's about memory. It's really very interesting thing, because I from my clients, some of them, they cannot forget the past at all. So he or she goes to the new dates, or goes to the parties, meet new people, and it works because she or he is attractive, and people want to date him or her. But it's still, yeah, but you know, in my previous relationship it was this, and I'm afraid it will repeat in my new relationship. Something like, so many years has gone, but this person is still in the past, didn't digest what's happened in the past. It's awful, because it's like luggage you always carry with you, and you can never find the new person until you get rid of your old past.
Yeah. Well, I truly believe that we attract people because of who we are.
Yes,
So if
absolutely.
we can change who we are, I looked at my marriage and I thought, well, who was he and who was I, and how did we jigsaw together, and how do I not do that in the future, because this didn't end well. And I thought I had a need to fix things. As a child in my family, I was the people pleaser. I smoothed over the cracks. I brought that into my adult life. I brought it into my marriage, and now, having done a lot of kind of, looking at who I am and who do I want to be, and what's healthier, I think now I don't need to fix anyone, because we can't fix each other. We don't, but that's subconsciously, that's who I was. So I now know that I wouldn't attract somebody who maybe had a need that they feel they needed to be fixed, which is interesting, because when we know who we are in life, we bring into our world more of who we are.
Absolutely, because what I read very often in the profiles of my clients, and something like, I would like to meet the person to enjoy best parts of the life with, to start new hobbies, to be happy. I need some, it's very dangerous. I need somebody to be happier. And I always say, no, 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 it doesn't work like this. First, you have to be happy with yourself and even alone, and only after it, when you're a complete person, like finished product,
Absolutely. Yeah.
absolutely only after it you can search for somebody else who is completely, because if you are not fixed now and you're searching somebody who will refurbish you, it's wrong, because you don't know who will be this person. And automatically, this, it's not theory, it's truth, that if there are many things not fixed, you just search, you automatically find the person who will hit you in your pain points, and even stronger than you can expect.
Yeah.
We always find our punisher.
Yeah, we do. And also, exactly what you're saying. If we don't know how to be happy within ourselves, nobody else can make us happy. We can't be made to be angry. So when you hear people say, you made me do this, like, no, absolutely not. You're an adult, you're responsible. You did this because you chose to do it. Nobody made you do it. And I look at my two boys, and my eldest would say something or do something, and I would go, no, your brother did not make you do that. You chose to do it because of your response, but he didn't make you. In the same way, he can't make you happy, and neither can I. So I'm trying to teach them and show them that it comes from inside. And that's called emotional regulation. And if we don't know how to regulate our emotions appropriately, that's when we can end up with expectation gaps and communication issues, because we are expecting too much from other people. And also, we are fully capable as humans of giving ourselves what it is we need, whether it's contentment or happiness. And I love what you say, we need to be happy alone to be
Absolutely.
who we are, because then we bring a whole person, and that makes such a different starting point for any relationship. Such a different.
Yesterday I hosted a round table, and round table is like online meeting where men and women talking to each other. And one woman asks this question to men: what can make you happy, or what doesn't mean happiness for you? And I was really surprised, because for men, this verbal difference, happiness, luck, for them it's more complicated. We women play more with words, men are a little bit behind. But really interesting, 3 or 4 men answered this question, and it was always about happiness in relationship. I was sitting and thinking, it was about your happiness. What can make you happy? How do you feel happy alone? It's not about being in the partnership, doing things together. It's about you. It's not about you and your partner. So it's really interesting. So it's to teach people how to understand the word happiness, and how to understand that even being alone sometimes much better than in a wrong environment.
Oh, absolutely. When I left my marriage, it was because I knew that I would be happier on my own than I would be if I'd stayed married. And I didn't want to be with somebody else, because I thought, I'm not leaving to get another person. I'm leaving because I know that I will have a better world on my own. And, for me, a new partner would enhance what I already have, because they would share experiences and things, but they won't fix. And if they took away something that I have, like my peace or something, I would be going, no, that's not working for me, because I know what I have, and what I have now is very good. With my life with the boys and my new business and all those kind of things. So I would like to have my world enhanced, and to me, that's a healthy relationship.
Absolutely, it's what this advice I give to my clients. It's something like, not I'm searching as I said, not I'm searching the partner to make you happy, but I'm happy. I'm having a happy life right now, and I'm searching for someone who makes it even better.
Yeah. And so when you're on a divorce journey, one of the trigger points that creates a lot of upset is when one of my clients would say, and I've just heard my partner has a new partner. And that's so even if you're the person who's done the leaving, that can still be a trigger point. So and I would say to them, okay. And I mean, a classic example is one of my clients who said to me, and he's taken her here and he's buying her these things. And I'm thinking, and what she said was, he didn't do that for me. And I thought, but were you happy? And she said, no. And I said, would you want him back for that? And she went, no. And I said, well, then it doesn't matter what he does with somebody else, because your experience of living with this person doesn't have happy memories. So don't focus on that. Focus on what can you do for you? How do you want your life to go forward? We get distracted very easily into focusing in places that aren't necessarily helpful. And a divorce journey does that a lot, because when you're talking about the legalities and the finances and the children, there's a lot of things that cause upset and a lot of things that have to be navigated. And what I would say to clients, you will still be a parent to these children in 5 years' time. So who do you want to be? If you go 5 years into the future and you look back, do you want to be proud of how you handled yourself? Do you want to be proud of the way you walked through this journey? It's not easy, but you can do it in a different way. And that ability for someone to see the future and look back helps them to make better decisions and maybe not say things in anger or hold on for 24 hours before they reply to an email or a text. Those kind of things make a difference.
Yeah, and I think it's great to have solicitor who can handle it for you, because when we are in anger and stress, they might try to say wrong things. But I think it's absolutely amazing way to handle divorce through some special people who can help you, and like you,
It's
like,
like there's a support team. So
yeah.
I say to my clients, I'm not in competition with anybody. I'm part of your team. So you need to have a solicitor. You should have a financial advisor. You may very well need to have a counselor, but I will help you with your story of divorce, the emotions, the figuring out, the disappointment that you're here, the whatever it happens to be. How do you handle your children going to their dad or their mum for the first weekend when you're not with them? How do you handle that weekend? I can help my clients to shift their focus so that when their children come back, they haven't spent the weekend really upset. They've gone and met a friend, or they've gone to a spa, or they've gone and done something. So when their children come back, they've had a rest. They are a better version of themselves, rather than having been upset that this is where they are and what are they doing and are they getting too many sweets and all of the different things.
I
So
know, I know it. I know it.
and I do too. But this is the real story of a divorce. And a solicitor's not going to help you with these things.
No, no.
And this is where I'm different,
And I think nowadays it's easier to get divorced, because you can find people like you who can help divorced people with their process. But on the other hand, we have social media. So it means
Mm-hmm.
it's so easy to find him and his new one, or to find her and new one, and he's doing with children this. Yeah, something like not knowing, not knowing anything.
Easier.
It's much easier. So what I did after I got divorced, I threw away all photos, because I don't want to see it. So it's a past. There are somewhere in my laptop, or very, very hidden. But I don't want. I didn't want any reminder. And I heard this advice from somebody else, that if you want to really get rid of your not working relationship, it's better to throw away all his clothes, all his books, everything to charity or in the bin. Just no reminder at all. My house is clean and I start my new life. Do you give such practical advices for your clients to make it easier just to forget about?
Yes, I do. I certainly do talk a lot about our physical space.
Yeah, physical
You know,
space. Yeah.
yeah. So in my situation, I left the house because the house came with my ex-husband's job. So I got to set up an apartment, which in some ways was easier because I got to choose what went in. If your partner leaves and you're in the house and you're in the house with the children and everything is the same, that's not necessarily helpful. So I would say to somebody, how can you rearrange the furniture in your sitting room? Could you change the curtains? So it doesn't have to cost a lot of money, but rearranging furniture will change the atmosphere in a room.
Yeah.
And I would suggest, so one of the things that I did was my boys had photographs with their dad in their bedroom. So they weren't in my sitting room, but he was still their dad. And so, my boys would say, if they were upset about something, I would say, am I happy when you're with me? And they go, yeah. And I would say, is your dad happy when you're with him? And they go, yeah. So that's all they needed to know for stability and security. So I was okay with having a photograph of their dad in their bedroom. because he was their dad. And I thought that's okay. But I just didn't want it in my space anywhere else. And there is definitely something about the emotional energy that's attached to things. I have found when I've changed furniture and I have, so say we picked the sofas or the curtains and I change them, the room feels entirely different. And it's very hard to explain, but it's only when somebody does it. It really does make a difference.
It is. I sold a house, I bought an apartment, they bought absolutely all new furniture because every piece you use with your ex-partner, it's piece of memory and you're stuck.
Yes, and it can pull you back. And sometimes it pulls you into, oh, we did have good times, that was really good. And sometimes it pulls you into, I can't stand him, look what he did to me. Neither of those places are helpful for you to move forward. They are both behind you. And when you were talking about, not following on social media, absolutely, because that's a form of self-sabotage. You're purposely putting yourself in a position where you're making yourself get more upset, but you're doing it on your own. Like they're not even in the room with you. And and that's that energy thing I talk about. We give away a lot of energy in our heads by how we think and what we think about. So I ask my clients to sort of almost like step outside and look in as if you're a third person and go, now just notice and observe. What am I thinking about? Do I want to give my thought process to that? Or is there something better I could be thinking about? But we have to notice it to change it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Unfortunately, we have to stop. So I think I could.
It was great fun.
It was fun. We definitely meet again because I like this conversation. Because it's not about the end. This end is their step into their better future.
It's a new beginning. And here's one thing. Can I just put one thing in? Because I think this is really important. If we can create a good ending, then we have the potential for a really good beginning. And an ending doesn't have to be awful. We can have a good ending. And I help my clients to have a good ending because we all still have futures. Our children have futures. I have a future. My ex-husband has a future. And as their dad, I don't wish him ill. I want them to have him healthy in their lives. But if we can create a good ending, then what is possible for a good beginning? And that is so important.
Yeah, because it's a part of this energy and new steps. Because if you remember your divorce as really very bad event, and of course it's not happy event. Even in Russian language, you can say happily divorced. In German, you can say this as well, happily divorced. Yeah, it's something like if you know, because we all want to be good people.
Yes.
I think it's really wrong people about us humans. We always want to know what is good, what is bad. Even black, white, it doesn't exist. There are hundreds of colors, thousands of colors. So if you know, okay, I finished my relationship as good as possible, so I am a good guy, I can look into the future with more potential. But if we know that our divorce was quite a shit and we did a lot of bad things, and it's always in our memories and always in our brain, it will impact our future definitely.
Well, we don't feel good about ourselves.
Yeah.
And that straight away impacts because who we are when we walk into a room matters. It matters. And I want to feel proud of myself. I want to feel proud that my children go between the two houses, that I can, meet my ex-husband for coffee and we can discuss the holidays. I want to be proud of myself for doing that. That matters to me.
Yeah, absolutely. But it is really the topic of our next conversation, how it's possible to get divorced, but still have a chance to talk with the ex about holidays and meet for coffee. Yeah. Because most people are not able to meet the exes to speak about children. They cannot do it. And it's really very important part of this adult conversation, how to keep not romantic relationship, but some relationships to discuss about children. In my situation, for example, the father of my children, I have 4, he hasn't got any contact with him for 8-9 years at all. And it's really, so it's my pain because, I love them. I do everything for them for 2 parts. It's okay. But how somebody can forget about having children, completely forget.
It's very difficult because it takes two people to want to do that. And if one person doesn't want to have anything to do with the children or the partner, you can't make it happen.
No.
But it is possible. And what I always think is, you know, my children watch what I do. They watch what I do more than what I say. And in any relationship, whether you're dating or whether you're married or whether you're on a divorce journey, it's not the conflict that's the problem. The thing is, how do you resolve the conflict? What do you do with that? And when we learn the tools to do that, we carry those into all of our relationships, because a lot of my clients would say, oh, my work has just improved, my environment at work, and it's because they're changing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the resolution of conflict, especially on a divorce journey, is really, really, really powerful to creating an easier future. My future is easier because I can communicate with my ex-husband, and so is his.
No, absolutely. Yeah, but you know, so just a little piece of comment that the life without discussing anything, it's easy as well. Because
Yeah.
I'm
Well, then
decision.
you just get to make the decisions. But you know, and for you, but you have the pain of your children not having their dad in their world, and good or bad isn't a thing. There's a part of us that wants to feel good enough and loved enough. So it's just all different, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a different, and if I cannot change the situation, I try not to think about it. Maybe it's, you know, it helped to some people, you know, stop thinking, and it will might change your life. Thank you so much. I really can talk
It
to
was
you
great.
for hours,
Thank
because
you.
it's so similar what we're discussing from different approach. We definitely meet next time and discuss about how to prepare children, how to prepare maybe, you know, so maybe points where you have to start thinking about getting divorced, and what is how can you feel that you're ready for new relationship. I would like to get your opinion.
Great. And
Yeah,
also how to introduce a new partner to children. That's a big thing too. On divorce
absolutely.
journeys and matchmaking, it is really important how we communicate with our children.
Yes, and how to tell to the new partner about your past.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's also a big topic, and I constantly in the middle of this little solution. So I would like to hear your opinion, and definitely my spectators would enjoy our
Great.
conversation.
I look forward
Thank,
to that.
thank you so much. Thank you, and have a nice day. Thank you.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.